Hello.
Hi.
Hi there. My name is Bunmi Adeoye.
And I'm Maxine McDonald.
And together we are
CoLac.
And we are, I think I can speak for you, Max, to say we are super excited to be participating in the SheaMoisture virtual series. And today we're actually talking about tips for small businesses.
Yeah. So before we start, I want to say thank you to Sandbox Studios for opening up for us to record here.
Yay.
And we're super excited to just chat through some of the things that we've noticed being professionals working in communications over the years, had a lot of opportunity to work with businesses, both large and small, and see some things that have been done really, really well and other things that could be used as learning. So today we just wanted to come together to share some of the tips that we have.
I love how you put that. Where you're like, some things where, there are some learnings.
Yeah, well, I mean...
There's no mistakes, just learnings.
Yeah, I think
love
part
that.
of growing is also learning from things that didn't work so well, not just kind of throwing your hands up.
And being like, this failed.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have a number of different tips here. Tip number 1, defining your business. So one of the things that when we were preparing for this, we were talking about this, like, what does that mean to define your business? And sometimes it's just a great idea. Sometimes it's something really simple. Sometimes it's fulfilling a need in the market that wasn't necessarily there before, which I think is really cool because it really simplifies things. It doesn't need to be some sort of like secret formula. It needs to be something that you're actually quite passionate about.
Mm-hmm. I think too, thinking about defining your business is super important because it really helps. It touches on everything else you do. So if you know what your core values are, what your specific positioning in the industry, it'll help you as you network and you talk about your business, or maybe as you develop your website and promotional materials. All of those things really go back to what is your business about? Why do you exist? What are the values that you have? It'll help you as you think about collaboration. So it's really sort of like the foundation of what you're doing.
And I like that because when you're talking about your business and thinking about what are your core values, if it's something that you're really passionate about, if it's something that you really care about, you don't have to you should research it, but like you have a basic sort of understanding of this is the reason why I care about what I'm doing, either whether it's a service or a product or something that was missing. This is the reason why I started this. I think the other thing when you're talking about core values, it could be like, what are the things that you want to see in the business that you are running? Because a lot of us have worked in organizations or with businesses where you're like, I wouldn't do it like that. If I ran my own business, this is what I would do.
Yeah.
So is it great customer service? Is it having fun on the job? Is it, like you said, collaboration? What are the things that are actually going to drive you and keep that fuel in the tank to keep you going with that business? I find also that brands that really stay truly connected to that core value, they're able to grow their business properly and they're able to service their clients in a way that like they never forget that. And I find brands that veer away from that, they kind of falter or they have to keep course correcting because they forget, this is the reason why I started this business.
Yeah. I think that the specificity is super important because you can't be all things to all people. So really understanding what is your niche and just leaning into that, not feeling it's okay to say, well, that's not what we do. This is what we do. We can get really, really caught up trying to do it all when we don't have the capacity to. So I think that having that focus and that vision is super important.
I think especially when you're first starting as well. Like, I feel like, I don't know, we live in a world where there are a lot of businesses, and I think part of it is because they're trying to continue to generate revenue. They're doing so many different things and so many different products and so many different versions. And I think if you are a small business, it's okay to just focus on the thing that you actually started the business for.
Yeah, it's like, it's not trying off the bat to have 30 different products. Why not just have 5 and really hone in on those 5 and make them as best as possible? And then as you have time and capital, then expand. But thinking about really how you can sort of streamline your costs and also be really good at a few things rather than being like mediocre or not even that great on many things.
It's that old saying, what is it? Jack of all trades, master of none. I don't love that saying because I feel like people can multitask and it's possible, but as a start, master one thing and then grow from there. Number 2, resources. Sorry, go on.
I think part of growing is really being aware of what is available to you before you go and spend money. Think about, like, try to spend some time researching what things are available that are free. The internet has opened up a huge world. There are so many free online courses. Even outside of courses, just even, you know, you might be in a place where you're thinking about one specific thing. Just Googling and seeing what articles exist, blog posts, that might help give you some direction. Rather than immediately thinking, okay, well, I want to start a business or I want to grow my business. I want to think about how to market my business. So I need to get a marketing firm or I need to, you know, get a certification in marketing. There are tons of things that you can learn just by spending some time and being a student of self.
I think the internet has really opened up the doors for so many people. Like, where once upon a time it was almost like it's a secret on how you actually run a business. Like, just knowing how to type and read and applying some of that learning, it actually has opened the doors for so many people to actually run their own business and run it in a way that really matches where they are in that moment in time. So it's not like you have to go out and have like a ton of money or have a ton of resources or do a ton of education. It's like, where are you at right now, and what are the resources that you have access to? So even one of the things that, you know, we talk about a lot about is like that side hustle. Like, sometimes you have that side hustle and you work on it and craft on it in the safety of having your day job, so that eventually you can go, if that's where you decide that you want to go. So eventually that you can go to this place where you make that decision of, is my side hustle now going to be my full-time gig? That's an option too.
I think also seeing people as resources. Oftentimes there are people in our social circle or our professional circle who might be able to help us grow in different ways for our business. So really thinking about who's around you, who does what well, who's an expert in what, and having conversations and leveraging your own circle as a resource.
I think that's so true. I think also the other piece to that is, if you find someone that's really sort of your champion, can they be someone that's a mentor, like that you can tap into when you reach that critical point within your business? So whatever that critical point is for you, it's not the same for everyone, I think. Should we move on to tip number 3? What do you really need?
This one makes me laugh so much because working in PR so often, I'll meet someone, and I'm sure it's the same for you.
I know where you're going.
You meet someone who's in business in some way, and immediately they're like, oh, you're in PR? I need that. And like, okay, well, like, it's not to say that I don't want new business.
Love new business.
Is PR actually what you need? Is that really what you need at this point? And so I think that it's like super important to understand where your business is in its trajectory and its life cycle. If you're just starting off and it's a thing where you're at first things first, you know, you're just laying the foundation, you probably don't need to get PR. That's probably not where you should be focusing. You should be like looking at whatever you're really defining and developing your products and services, thinking about, you know, the basic things in terms of marketing promotion, like your website, if you have any social media. It's probably not retaining a
firm. Or like, and I think that's PR. I'm sure there's so many other types of businesses that are like, oh, maybe I need to do some advertising, or, you know, like maybe I need an advertising firm, or maybe like think about what it is that you need first. I think when you're starting a business, there's something to be said about trying to do as much as you can when you start. And we'll get into when you need help, but when you start, really understanding every aspect of your business so that you understand what you need and what you what you don't need. Like, you don't have to be Oprah on the first day. You just have to be you. So I think that's really important. I think also the other thing to be looking at when we're talking about what do you really need is sometimes some of it is like looking around at your circle. Who's your audience? Who's that? I don't love this term for this, but I'm going to use it. Who's that low-hanging fruit that's already there? Like, you don't have to like have hundreds and hundreds of people. Maybe there's like 25 people that really, really love your product, and they'll tell 25 more people that, oh my God, I really love this product or this service. Like, really rely on giving the best possible service or the best kind of product that you can to that circle, because it will grow. Word of mouth is, I think, very, very underestimated.
So maybe what if you do need PR? How do you know that? And I guess we could say this is like point 4.
Yeah.
What do you need?
What do you need? I mean, I've had that call too, where somebody will be like, I need PR. And I'm like, okay, amazing. What's your product? Like, can we see it? Can we try it? Where can people get it? Like, if it's not easily distributable,
you don't need PR
probably don't need PR yet. You probably need to I feel like there's like 20 other things that you probably need to figure out before you get to needing PR. So in terms of when you need it, I think it's when you feel like your business is at a place where you can actually financially sustain hiring a PR firm. And it can be expensive. So you got to weigh it out. Like, is having PR actually going to give me a return on my investment? Because often what happens when I work with brands that haven't quite been ready for PR, they spend all this money on PR and they expect to get like 10 times back the money for the PR. And it's just like, well, it doesn't work that way. Like, sometimes PR is not even about selling products. Sometimes it's about building your brand. Sometimes it's about making sure that people are clear on what their audience is. Sometimes it's about sharing a new feature of a product or service that maybe you've had for a long time. Like, PR is not just about selling product. It's so much bigger than that. I think that's the other thing. I feel like people don't really understand what PR is. So they're like, yeah, totally, I need PR. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that it's also asking yourself, like, what is the so what? People often think, I have a business, I sell a product, I sell a service, so what? What is unique? And if you can't explain that yet, or I think that that's a really important thing. Like, there needs to be a reason, whether it's a trending conversation, or there's something unique about your product or service, or there is something unique about the way you are developing or providing that service. There needs to be something more than just, I want media to talk about my product.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing when you talk about media talking about your products. Like, I think some people have an idea with PR where it's like, oh, it's going to get me on the cover of a magazine or in the newspaper. But I think PR is so much broader than that. It could be an influencer program. It could be SEO. It could be support on marketing. It could be support on your business strategy. So I think it's so much bigger than that. But I feel like you have to recognize what it is that you need in your business first before you jump into PR. Yeah. Because again, when people ask us just randomly, oh, I think I need that, they probably don't understand it quite enough yet.
Yeah. Well, and I think that if you do realize that you need PR and you're actually at that place, there's a few ways that it can happen. One, there is the opportunity for you to try and do it yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And if you're someone who writes well and you want to give it a go, there's no reason why you can't craft an email to a local newspaper or a writer and explain what it is you do, why you think it's important, how they can reach you. So that is an opportunity for you to try and do it yourself. You could retain an agency, or you could also find an individual who works freelance that you could work with. One of the things that I've noticed that people often stumble with is thinking that they need to have a long-term partnership. And I think for some companies or businesses, it makes sense to have a long-term strategy in terms of what are you talking about on a monthly or bi-monthly basis. But for a lot of smaller businesses, it may just mean, once a year or, once a quarter, maybe you have a new product that you're launching and you feel really good about it and you think that there's a reason why people would want to know about it, whether it's influencers or media. There's the opportunity for you to have a short-term relationship with an agency or person. Or maybe there's a specific news cycle that's happening that you think really touches your business.
Like if there's a trend happening and you're like, oh my goodness, I have the solution.
Yeah, and I maybe based on my business, I could be an expert in this field. That's also another way to indirectly talk about your business. Maybe you're speaking more about an industry or a need in the community, and as part of that, it's X person owner of such and such a business. So there are different ways that you can work with an agency or when you're thinking about PR for your business.
And if you're talking about something like getting media coverage, I often find that if a brand is really good, media will seek out that product themselves or that service themselves. So it's not always an agency. Sometimes like a person is just really interested in your product or service, and like again, it's that circle of influence that you have. That person may talk to another person that may happen to work somewhere else that's like, oh my gosh, I really love this. I want to talk about this more. Because media as well, they're just people and they're wanting to discover cool new things. So if your product or service is cool or new or really addresses the need, you don't necessarily need a PR agency for that, particularly as a smaller business or a business that's just starting. Really think about where you want to be spending your resources and money on. So I think the next point 5, what does success look like to you? Sorry, I didn't mean to point at you. But I think that's really important. I think that's really important. Like, I think sometimes you'll look at somebody's end, where they are at their end game or at the biggest, shiniest moment of your life, and you're like, how do I do that? But nobody really realizes all the steps that it takes to actually get to be like in the place of the person or the brand that you idolize. So I think it's really important to define what success looks like to you, so that when you do achieve those goals, you can actually recognize it and celebrate it. Otherwise, you're just going to be looking out there at somebody else being like, well, I'm not like that. I'm not like that brand. I'm not like that person. And that can feel very defeating, it's not very motivating to be looking at someone that's so far ahead of you. And I think if you're able to actually outline, okay, what are those key goals and how can I achieve them? What is the timeline for that? I think that will help you to actually feel really good about your successes. And a lot of people talk about this. They talk about SMART goals. So SMART, the acronym, that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals. So I think that's important if you have a goal, actually to map out what are all the little steps that you need to get to your main goal, so that when you actually achieve it, again, you can celebrate and be like, whew, okay, I did that. What's the next goal?
Well, and I think too, also having goals helps you focus your energy, so you understand, okay, this thing that I'm doing here, this makes a lot of sense because I'm trying to get over here, versus this thing here, it might seem like there's this like really easy opportunity, but maybe it is still a waste of your time because it's not really helping you further your goals.
I think that's such a good point, because sometimes you're like, oh, look at that's that shiny thing over there. And then you end, like you said, you end up spending all this time working on something where you're like, no, you should be focusing on this right now. Focus on your business plan, or focus on calling those 5 people that you need to be calling, as opposed to working on something that actually was never a goal to begin with.
Yeah. I think another thing here is having like a business role model. So maybe there's a business in your own field, or maybe even something that's adjacent that is further along in the process that you really admire, and using that as an opportunity to study and see, like, even provide some like ideas that you can build upon, but having a bit of a North Star in terms of where you want to take your business in the future is really important.
I think that's a good point, because, we talked about it earlier with the internet being a really great resource. So if you are looking for that business that's sort of your aspirational kind of goal, like a lot of this stuff is not a secret. You could go look online, look at their website, look at their social media, look at media coverage to see, oh, how did they do what they did and replicate that. It doesn't necessarily need to even be like, oh, hey, person that I really like whose business has started, can we chat? Because they're probably really busy. So also, I think, again, it goes back to those resources. It goes back to those resources and tapping into those resources so you can understand how somebody did what they did. Yeah. I had a teacher that once said, perfection is self-defeating. So it's not about trying to be perfect all the time. It's about trying to do what you can with the information and the skills and the tools that you have right now. So again, defining that success for you, that's the most important thing. Don't get into this game where you're comparing yourself to others, because that will make it really hard and sad. Tip 6.
Yeah. Build a great team.
A great team.
Great team.
Yes.
This is super important. Often I think, especially with entrepreneurs, they're thinking about their business, they're eating, they're drinking, they're sleeping, their business, but then when it comes to hiring, that sort of falls off. And hiring can be very difficult. It's often difficult to really be able to pick up who interviews well versus who has the skill set.
Who's actually good.
But that being said, hiring is so important. Your team is an extension of you. Depending how your business is structured, the people that work for you may be the face of your business. And so taking the time to really understand what your business needs are, not just who's available, but understand what your business needs are so you can hire based on that. And also, as much as possible, attempting to find people who are passionate about the thing that they're doing. No one's going to care for your business the way you do, but trying to find people who actually do care is super important.
Yeah, care about the part of the business that you can't do. Care about I think finding good people too is it's also about people that just care about having an excellent standard of service or delivery of that product. So I've heard this a lot with people that run their own businesses. Like, they love the specific thing that they do, but they may not like the accounting, or they may not know how to do the graphic design or photography. So once they get to that place where they can hire those people, they're like, okay, who can I bring on board that can help me to do this stuff that either I don't really like doing or I don't want to do.
Yeah, so it's about knowing your strengths and weaknesses, I think, and like hiring based on that. And also training. A lot of people they might think about hiring, but they don't think about how to train their staff. Training them on not only what it is you do, but how you want it to be done, and taking the time to even create processes so that the next time you have to train, you have a book that you can follow to ensure that there's like a level of standard that is carried throughout the organization.
I think too, the other thing that I have found over the years when it comes to building a great team is the entrepreneur needs to also let people that are excited and passionate about your business be excited and passionate about your business. Like, I see a lot of things kind of go wrong when the entrepreneur is like territorial. It's just it's not a way that anything can thrive or grow. So if you don't want that passion to be taken away from that person that was like, oh my God, I really love what you're doing, or I love how you're giving back, or stuff like that, or things like that. So I think that's really important to be mindful of. Don't get in your own way. Like, let people use their talent to help you rise, and also give back to that person that's actually helping you to grow your business with their talent. I think it's so important.
Yeah, recognizing that good ideas can come from anywhere, and being ready to compensate people for the time and the investment that they put in. That's also how you retain good employees.
It really is. I don't know. Like the other thing, like just getting very practical. I think things like keeping in mind things that you'll need, like lawyers or accountants or tax experts. Like those are things that as your business is growing, and even as your business is starting, those are the kinds of things that you really want to be setting aside resources and dollars so that you can make sure that you're having the right person coming in to help you on that. Why take a week to do something on your own and be very frustrated with it if you can hire someone that can actually help you to do that in an hour? So really picking and choosing when you're going to do something on your own and when you're going to outsource that.
Well, there's that saying, sell your strengths, buy your weaknesses.
I've never heard of that saying before. I like that.
You can use it.
We'll put that on a t-shirt. My t-shirt business.
And all that to say is being realistic about what you can do well, and what is not within your wheelhouse. I've been around a lot of entrepreneurs, and even in my family, and understanding that sometimes someone's skill set is in certain aspects of business and not everything, and overextending yourself can stunt your growth. Especially I think when it comes to finances, that's where I feel like a lot of business owners might struggle, because it can be quite complicated in terms of like accounting and bookkeeping and having a good lawyer, all of those things. So not like being okay with not being able to do everything, essentially. It's okay.
And I think the other thing, when we're talking about having the right, building a great team or having the right people around you, I think there are some businesses where you're going to have partners. And if you're going to have that partner for the long haul as the business grows, really examining is that the person that you want to have by your side as this business grows? Like, what are going to be sort of your no-goes? What are things that you need to absolutely be aligned on? Really be clear about that. And I think some of that is going to be around communication. Some of that is really going to be each partner sort of looking at themselves and being like, okay, do the needs of the business override what my personal needs are? What is that? So I think being really honest with yourself and being really honest with your partners as well is important. And I think the other piece, when we talk about partners, we talk about business partners, but also look at who are people that you're interacting with in your business too, when you're talking about having great teams, like your clients. Like if you have your own business, you have the option as well to be like, I want to have this client. I want to work with you. You also have the option to be like, you know what, this is not the kind of client that I want. So there's that freedom of doing that if you have your own business. I think you can also be looking at who are the type of people that you're going to be working with from a supply chain standpoint. If sustainability is important to you, how are you making sure that that is being addressed for your business? I mean, I think sustainability should be important for all businesses, but I think those are just some things that you should be looking at when you're considering who's going to be around you in your business. I think the other big thing is friends and family, particularly family. What are the things that again are no-goes for your partners? What are you sacrificing? What are you not doing because you're running your business? I think those are, again, really important conversations and discussions that you need to be having with your family. So number 8, networking. Networking is so scary. I don't like networking because it's got working in it. Just kidding. I love working. But networking, I think, does sound scary to some people.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's a source of anxiety. It's like, what do I do? How do I talk about myself?
How do I carry myself?
What do I put my hands?
Yes.
What do I have these hands?
When do I get my business card? I don't have a business card. Yeah. Get a business card.
I don't know.
No.
Do you need a business card?
That's another tip. Maybe think about that.
Yeah.
That's a side tip.
Yeah.
But networking.
I think that networking is really just about making connections. And for a lot of us, we think about really formal events that are actually have like networking in the title, which have their place. Like even as us Code Black, we've done networking events and it's always a part of everything that we do. But networking should be a way of life. Really just as you're in your day-to-day, you're interacting with friends, family, you're out like
colleagues,
just chatting with people, thinking about how to incorporate what you do in how you speak to people, not in a way that's like shoving it down their throat, but what's a simple way to talk about your business and what you're passionate about, and allowing that to be a source of you making new connections that ultimately can help grow your business, whether it's new customers, new vendors, new partners, new places to collaborate. Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about it's not about shoving your message down people's throat. I think networking too is about listening. It's about listening to, oh, that person's really interested in that. Or, wow, that person's doing something that could really work with what I'm doing. Maybe I can talk with them. Like, it's really like trying to pick up those cues and reading the room as well.
And asking questions.
Yeah.
Asking people questions about what they're talking about to show that you're engaged. And not just show that you're engaged, to actually be engaged with the conversation. How can I trick them?
Yeah. No trickery allowed. I think too, networking, a lot of it is about like, who are you vibing with? Who are you actually making that connection with that you're like, wow, that person's really cool. I want to find a way to work with them. And working with them doesn't all have to happen right in that instant.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it, like even with Code Black, like we met years and years ago. It wasn't until I want to say like 3 years that we actually came together and we started to build something. And that's how that happened. And that's, to me, is networking. It doesn't have to be like, oh, what's the idea that I have in my mind? I'm going to bring that person over here and then we're going to network.
Yeah.
No. It's very simple. But it's networking as people, how did you say it? People like to work with people that they like. It's really simple.
Also, I think a good another piece of networking is like using some of these social media platforms. Instagram, even though it's not necessarily a professional network first, it can be a way to network by just like following and engaging with people on like their feed or like through direct messaging. And then also LinkedIn, which is very professional, but a way to connect. You know, you can also see that person's CV, there's a chat function, there's lots of different ways to engage.
I feel like the longer that we've had these tools, the more people have become comfortable with actually reaching out, just cold reaching out, being like, hey, I saw that you're doing this, or you work with so-and-so, would love to, pick up the phone, have a quick phone conversation, or are you working on this? Like, sometimes it's very simple.
And that's a good point, that networking doesn't always have to be in person. It can be virtual. So whether it is, like as you said, you might have come across someone organically on a platform that you think, okay, this person is doing something really cool. I really like what they're doing. Or I think that this would be a person or a business that I want to connect with. Engaging with what they're posting online, or just reaching out to say exactly like, hey, I noticed that you're doing this. Would love to chat.
Yeah. And I think the other piece around networking, as you start to build that network, they can become your support system. As you're building out your business or as you're growing, networking doesn't just need to be about how are they going to what's the word I'm looking for? Like move my business forward in a way that it's like dollars and cents. Sometimes building that network is about just getting gut checks from certain people. Yeah. Having those conversations, being like, hey, did you go through this before? And building that network of people that actually understand what you do and understand the challenges that you have. Because you can build a support system that's sort of like your family and friends, but they don't necessarily, like we talk about this a lot. When I'm talking to my friends and family about PR, they really don't know what that is, what that means. But when I'm talking with people that are within the industry and I say, hey, I'm having this challenge or something like that, it's like there's a shorthand that's there already. Like I don't have to explain the the whole history of PR in the business. So I think that's really important.
And there are a number of formal networks that do exist for different industries. So that could also be a way outside of going to a specific event. It could be just joining a network online.
So many Facebook groups. Like there's a Facebook group for for everything. So definitely tap into that. Tip number 9.
Giving back.
Giving back. Very important.
Yeah. For me, I think that giving back is an important part of not just being a professional, but as a human being, finding ways to recognizing where you're that you have a lot to be thankful and trying to use what you have to benefit others. For businesses, sometimes I feel like this can be a little bit tricky because depending what sector your business exists in, there can be a lot of requests for you to do things, for charity or for no cost help support. And even as Code Black, us having a nonprofit, we do appreciate when people can offer their services. But at the same time, it's really important to understand what you can do and what you cannot do, and understand that it's okay to say no. And often, people will. I think that it's important to not say yes and then provide a subpar product or service. If you're going to do it, then you should be able to do it to the best of your ability, and you should be comfortable with it. And it's okay if you feel that this is not something that you can do right now, or it's not something that's beneficial to you.
I think the other side of it too is if you do decide to go down that path of, okay, this seems like the right sort of fit, it's a two-way street as well. So you can ask the question, what's your audience? Can I have access to your database? Can you post me on your social media? Can I add people to my mailing list? There's so many different things. Can I have access to the photographs that you are taking at the event so that you can put them on your website? So be really thinking through, beyond just giving away your product, there are things that, or your service, there are things that you can get back to that would help you to build your business. Imagine getting photography for an event that you supported. That's a cost that you don't have to take on that cost of getting photography because you've actually given in that way.
Yeah.
And then also sometimes you can give to give. If it's something that you are just passionate about and you want to support, and that is going to be part of your core values, going back to one of our first tips, then do it. Because then, again, nothing can take away from someone just being passionate about a cause.
And I think it's also okay to negotiate a bit in terms of what your investment looks like. Maybe you have to, in order to provide that service, you need to bring in staff. So maybe you're charging to cover your staff, but you're not charging your full fee.
Everything's negotiable. So definitely ask the question. The worst thing that you can hear is, no, that's not possible, but we can do this. Number 10, I think this is really important. Diversify your client base. And I think we've both either been in scenarios or have witnessed scenarios where there are organizations or brands or services that literally have one client. It's a big one. It could be a big one. It could be amazing. They're the ones that are bankrolling everything. But if anything happens to that client, it puts your business in jeopardy. So I think it's really important to make sure that you have a number of different clients that you're able to service or provide a product to, so you're not relying on one. I mean, right now, if there's an economic crisis, you don't want to have to rely on that one brand or client.
Yeah, and being connected to that, it's also ensuring that you have a standard level of service that you're providing, because the temptation can be, if you have really big client, roll out the red carpet, which is fine, but also don't make sure that you are not neglecting the rest of your clients to the point of where they feel like they're second-class citizens.
And that brings us into number 11, growing your business organically. sometimes a small piece of business can really grow if you take care of that small piece of business, or if you take care of several small pieces of business. So you could have that huge client, but that little client could grow into something big, or again, it's all of our tips are interconnected. It could be something where that small client will be like, you know what, I'm going to recommend you to someone because you did such a great job for me and you made me feel like $1 million because of what I gave to you. So I think don't ever underestimate that small piece of business or look at it like it's fluff on your shoulder or something, like just do that. No, you take care of that fluff.
Your clients are not fluff.
No client is fluff. You take care of your clients, big or small. And I think with the experiences that both of us have had, there are some small clients that honestly, you never know where they're going to go either. Mm-hmm. So they may end up being at a bigger place and they're like, you know what? I only want to work with Maxine or Bunmi because they took care of me, mm-hmm. like no matter what. Mm-hmm. So there's something to be said about growing things organically.
Growing things organically to me also means recognizing that even though there are principles, there are no laws per se in terms of growing your business, meaning that things are rapidly changing. There's always new trends, new technologies. So being open to change and flexible to take advantage of opportunities that arise, even in this time, in 2020 has been a very interesting year. There have been so many things that have happened that have created real ripple effects in terms of business. And some businesses have been able to really capitalize on what's happened because they've paid attention to how needs and behaviors have changed and they've been able to adapt. So as you're growing organically, be aware of how things are changing mm-hmm. and being open to thinking about new ways to do things.
Yeah, it makes me think that there's, in this time of huge upheaval, there's sort of like 3 levels of change. There are the businesses that couldn't survive. There are the businesses that were already there and they're like, yeah, we thrive in these kinds of environments. And then there are the businesses that have really figured out how to change course. It's almost as if like 2020 pushed them to make the decisions that they should have been making anyway. So whether that's like having an online arm or whether that's really upping their customer service or whether that's like planning even more, that's really, really, really like brought to the forefront what are the things that they actually need to be focusing on. Mm-hmm. Tip number 12, ditch the crab in the bucket mentality. There can be more than one.
There are 2 of us right here.
There are 2 of us right here, and there may be 2 others out there. There may be more. Really what that means is just because your type of business already exists, it doesn't mean that you can't offer up some sort of different take on this. There's not one shoe company, there's not one makeup brand, there's not one fitness brand, there's so many different ones. So if you think that there's something that you have to offer, then go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think too, it's like outside of understanding that there can be more than one, thinking about the power of collaboration. Often when we think so much about ourselves and our focus is on like the competition so much, we miss opportunities where we can collaborate with other brands that maybe there's a similar energy, you have a similar audience, or you share the same brand values. And that can really be an opportunity to grow your audience.
Number 1, define your business.
Number 2, resources.
Number 3, what do you really need? What do you need?
4, PR.
5, what does success look like to you?
6, building a great team.
7, work with the best experts.
8, networking.
9, giving back.
10, diversify your clients.
11, grow organically.
12, ditch the crab in the barrel mentality.
Ditch it. So those were our 12 tips. And we'd like to say thank you so much for listening, for watching. for taking notes, we hope. Thank you to SheaMoisture virtual series for allowing us to share our knowledge with you.
Yeah, and be a part of a really cool series that's offering informational classes, virtual events, hair tutorials. We're super thankful to be able to come and chat with you. Thanks to Sandbox Studios for having us here today.
Share, like, subscribe if you like what you saw today. Thank you so much, and bye for now.